one power, invisible, and you see it everywhere and every day. One power, indescribable, and you speak of it with every word you say. Mysterious until you know the truth, as simple as the love inside of you. Call it God, call it Spirit, call it Jesus, call it Lord, call it Buddha, Baha'u'llah, angels' wings or heaven's door. But whatever name you give it, it's all one power, can't you see? It's the power of the love in you and me. One power, one power.
the story that we tell ourselves, we can either be the victim in that story or we can be the victor. Again, it is left up to us. So we get to determine what the outcome of that story is going to be based on who we are, on the story that we tell ourselves. There are outside stories too. Those stories, again, we can relate to, or we um, put our understanding to that story. But we have to be mindful that we don't make ourselves the victim in someone else's story either. Again, we are the ones responsible for the stories that we're telling ourselves or the understanding that we take on about any given stories. So we want to make sure that the story that we tell ourselves is one where we are the victor. And before coming here to the Science of Mind, I was one of those people that told the stories where it was always me, the victim in the story. And taking the classes, I became self aware of what it was I was doing to myself, and of course, blaming other people. And I'm sure none of us here do that, but we just know other people that do.
Right.
Yes. So in the classes, I learned a different story to tell myself. Several different stories, I must say. The universe is always in a correction mode, meaning the universe will never, ever self implode. It will always be in a state of correction. So there are things that we may see sometimes, and again, we may not have an understanding of what is happening, but we can know for certain the universe is correcting the mishaps that may have come along and we were not nowhere close to knowing when or where. The other story that I have that I do tell myself is all things are in divine order. Oftentimes, when I look and see, I just don't agree with what is in place. But knowing that all things are in divine order, meaning there's a higher power that determines the order of things, and it is up to me to align myself with whatever that higher order is. And last but not least is my peace. Be still and know that I am. That was one of the first stories that I began to reshape myself, what it is I believe about myself when taking these classes. So I ask you guys, what is the story you're telling yourself? Simply because we express what we feel. So, is your story about love? Is your story about peace? Is your story about oneness? You're the one that determine what you will be expressing in your life. Now, here at this moment, I would like for us to come together. And in coming together, I would like for us to prepare ourselves for treatment of peace. I will be making this treatment in the first person, and of course, you guys get to make the adjustment as you see fit. I give this treatment in the first person. Why? Because we are one. We are one. We are one. So, as we come together, we come to know and understand that God is all there is. The universe is the expresser of all things and everything. We are giving thanks for this opportunity for us to have the awareness and the knowledge of this wonderful, beautiful universe. It is out of this oneness, peace expresses itself. And I being an expression of the oneness, I am. It is the I am that allows me to express myself as a thought of peace here in this very moment. It is this knowledge of the universe and how it works I am grateful for, and I give thanks. And so it is.
So it is.
So, guys, I want to take a minute here just to say again thank you to all of our volunteers here at the Center for Spiritual Living. There is a lot of work that goes into this production. This is a true production, guys. This is like a Hollywood production. There are signs to be put out, there are doors, there are floors, there's kitchen, there's tables, there's chairs, there's logistics, there's food. So it's on and on and on and on and on. So I want to say thank you to all of our volunteers. Again, you are the reason that we are here. And in honor of our 1 year anniversary, I do want to ask that you give a little extra just to honor us being together here. I do want to say thank you to Lynn. Lynn, I have to add Richard too, because Lynn and Richard, we got a 2-for-1, but they are always showing up, being here, and it makes a difference, guys, when you have dependable people that show up consistently. And we have Judy and Maya. They do an excellent job in making sure we get the message that we are behind that aligns with our mission. And of course, our board president, Vince, we thank you for your work that you do. But again, there's my quintessential volunteer, Sylvia. Sylvia, thank you for your showing up in your spirit, your faith, your believing. Anything and everything that we do here, Sylvia makes sure she's part of that. And I say I appreciate that, but we all do appreciate that. Then again, if you guys are not here, then we don't exist. And if you do respond, Connie will make sure you have a name tag and all the information that go along with that. Thank you, Connie. Again, it's a community that we have built, and I just want each and every one of you to be proud of this community that you have built. Now, again, as I spoke to you earlier, to share with you, today is special, and we have a special speaker that will be with us today, and it's just apropos on our 1 year anniversary. This is Dr. Bob. With decades of experience in ministry and ministerial education, Reverend Dr. Bob has dedicated his life to serving others. He has a multifaceted background in religious education, pastoral counseling, and professional leadership. Ordained as a religious science minister, he has served as president of Holmes Institute from 2015 to 2018 and manager of professional education 2013 to 2018 for Centers for Spiritual Living. His extensive experience ranges from pastoral, psychotherapy, and addiction treatment to training and consulting for businesses and organizations. With a commitment to spiritual growth and community development, Dr. Bob has also facilitated workshops and retreats on various topics related to personal and spiritual transformation. Dr. Bob's passion for education is evident in his role as senior minister at the CSL Church of Religious Science, 2000 to 2003, the Greater Philadelphia Center for Spiritual Living. In these positions, he taught curriculum, graduated students, and led ministerial programs. And that is what he has done here at the Center for Spiritual Living, Midtown. I welcome you guys, Dr. Reverend Bob, please.
Thank you, thank you. Hey. Whoops, sorry. Wow, that's a lot of words about a long life of a lot of fun. So thank you so much. Thank you so much. I am thrilled to be back here. I want to join in the congratulatory moment for each of you. One of the real evidences of building spiritual community is when it lasts after the most recent leader leaves. And you guys have been doing this for a year now. I salute you. I celebrate you. And I am convinced that this is not because of so much of what I did, but because of who you are. Some of you have been in this teaching longer than I have, and some of you who are my teachers are sitting out here as well. So I have had a chance to learn a lot from you, and I've had a chance to learn for us to share a lot in terms of these years that I spent here as the leader, and I'm so grateful for that. Today marks a new day for me because after a year of trying to pretend to be retired, I'm not anymore. Done with that nonsense. What I am doing now, and I'll see if I have time to share some of the stories. We do have a Q&A afterwards, so if you've got some questions or for me, or you have some thoughts about what we talk about, stay around afterwards. We'll do a little Q&A and a little chance to catch up then. But in this time, what has happened is I got very clear I'm not retired. Ministry is something I've done since I was a teenager, a late teenager, but a teenager. And I wasn't ready to quit, so I didn't. Starting in January, I will be the new interim minister at Bellingham, Washington Church, helping them through their transition to their new minister. We have a new rule now in CSL. If you're going to be an interim, you can't stay there and be the minister, which is good, because the last place I was an interim, I stayed for 10 years. Not going to do that this time. I will help them through the change of the shift. So it's going to be an exciting time for me in terms of doing ministry again, but in a different way. I'll be supporting them in helping their community become what it wants to be. So that's where I'm going next. This is my first talk in the launch of a whole new bunch of talks. So if you want to catch that, you got to get up. Well, I guess you got to wait till later in the afternoon to, I was about to say get up early. That's what I have to do. We'll be there, and I'll be there 2 Sundays a month, and the rest of the time I'll be back here and wandering around who knows where in the world. So from what you got from the intro to the talk, you gather that we're going to talk about walking on air or standing on air. Now, the real title of that message, I used that one because that's what CSL put out, and I thought it was cool enough. But the real title that I'm speaking to is Dancing Over the Abyss, which I think is a whole lot clearer and a whole lot more accurate to what people are doing nowadays. Maybe not this crowd, because you guys know a lot of spiritual truth and a lot of spiritual power that everybody else doesn't necessarily. Although many of you out there, wherever you are out there in the cyberland, are also part of this yes and no. And yet all of us have these moments where we go, oh my God, what is happening in the world? I mean, I don't know about you, but every time I open a newspaper and look at a headline, there's some new great catastrophe about to happen to the environment, to the water, to all of these different things. We've been through a pandemic that we came out of and into a whole new reality. And in that whole new reality, it don't look like it did before. Because what we discovered in the pandemic was that we could communicate from our living rooms and do everything we were doing anyway, except bump elbows with people. And some people love that. And some people don't like it a bit. And people are all over the boards in between. It's been interesting how many spiritual communities, not just CSL, but many have had difficulty coming back afterwards. People just stay home. Why come out and get dressed on a Sunday morning when I can sit back and drink my coffee in my bathrobe and pajamas and have a great service. Well, the reason is you're missing this. You're missing what we're having right here, which is the personal part of life. So dancing over the abyss. You've got all these things going on. I know you guys have already probably sick and tired of this by now, but we did have an election not long ago. And there's a world of folks who are hurting, and there's a world of folks who are celebrating. And I got a surprise for you. You may not know this, and maybe people in this room, because I don't know all your political stands, nor do I want to. We got ministers in CSL celebrating the outcome of the election. And practitioners, and people, and members. And we got folks in CSL who are practitioners and ministers and members who are miserable and sad and feel like the world is coming to an end because of this. Well, I have some things I want to say about that, because I think that's what walking on air, standing on air, finding your stance on air is all about. It's lifting us above and beyond that either-orness of life. You know, it's easy to get in one camp or another, or get in one thing or another, and let our minds be sucked into one way or another. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with either one of them. I'm just saying there's a bigger and better way. And that's where I want to invite you into. Now, several years ago, I guess it was about 2016-ish, I was working for Holmes Institute, and we did a retreat for ministers, or for the ministerial students in Florida. And on my way to that retreat, I stopped in this little hole-in-the-wall place where I went in to eat, and I sat down to eat, and I noticed there was a whole table full of guys from the VFW between me and the bathroom. And I thought, oh my goodness, I am wearing a t-shirt that I bought at an LGBTQ rally, a pride rally, and I got to walk by those guys. You may have heard this before. I did. I got up, I walked by them. This is the t-shirt I was wearing. Can you see it? It says, "We the people" means everybody. Well, I thought I was going to get in trouble walking by those guys, because I thought they would recognize this as a gay thing. Well, you know, I walked by and I got their attention walking by. They all stopped to look, and I'm like, oh dear. I went to the bathroom and I came out, and one of the guys grabbed my arm, and with tears in his eyes, he said, "Thank you. That means us too." And my whole world changed at that point. Because I realized at that point, no matter who we are and where we stand on either side of the political spectrum, on either side of what we believe to be right or wrong, anywhere, we are all included in this great thing called oneness. And we have no right, hear me, we have no right to exclude anybody from it. Now, I don't know about you, but I've been tempted. I've had some moments when I want to yell at one person or another, and sometimes on both ends, especially with the politics. I get mad at all of them at some point. I grew up in politics, so I know behind the stories for a lot of this. Florida politics at that. So the truth is, though, if I live there and stay there, yeah, you see that little guy out there? I hope he's got a parent somewhere close by. I haven't seen one yet. There is a different place to stand, and it's called, they call it standing on air. I call it dancing over the abyss, because the abyss is that place where we get pulled apart. Oh, there comes a mom. Good. Gets pulled apart in different directions, and where things do not work so well for us. So Dr. Holmes said, and I want to read it again because I think it's absolutely right. In the Living the Science of Mind is a commentary on the textbook. I didn't know that until I started doing some research. It is a commentary on the textbook that he wrote, and it was pulled from his talks and such. And I go back to Dr. Holmes because so far I haven't found any other spiritual leader that gets my attention or speaks the truth as well. And even though this is probably 100 years old that he wrote this, man, that's a long time ago. That's before my mama was born. It's still relevant, I think. He says, the new age, we've heard a lot about new age in the last 20 years, demands that fear and superstition surrounding religious convictions be removed. Just be done with all the superstitious stuff. One day I'll have to talk about what that is, not today. And that the truth, capital T, plain and simple and direct, be presented that people may learn to live now in the present with the assurance that the eternal God is their refuge. When you're standing on air or when you're dancing over the abyss, the one place that you know keeps you safe is that eternal God. Whatever way you consider that, please know when I say that, I'm not talking about some old man in the sky out there with a beard, even though I like beards. It's that whole idea of the energy and presence of life. It never can leave us. It's always our refuge. You take a deep breath and be still for a second. There I am. It's an interesting place to be. So I'm going to speak some truth to you. You may not like it. Some people don't like what I just said about both sides of this thing. That we need to honor and respect and love each other wherever we are in politics. My family is completely divided. There's me, and then there's everybody else. And I'm not going to tell you which side I'm on. You probably know. But, I really struggle with how do we do this? How do we go, how we cross that bridge? It's so easy. We just love each other. I don't love them any less because they disagree with me politically than I did before I knew that. I mean, part of me wished I didn't know it at one point until I worked it through, because we are so ingrained in being pulled into taking one side or another against anything in the world. So here's some basic truth. This teaching is about two things. It's about healing. It is about teaching. We are a teaching, healing ministry. We are a ministry where we take what we learn and we teach it to other people so they can do it in order to heal. And healing is not about fixing things. Healing is about bringing our consciousness into full alignment with the infinite, that vertical part of life. And then when we get that in line, then it's easier for the horizontal to work in our everyday lives and our everyday experience. So, teaching, healing ministry, that's what we're doing. As long as there is human, here's the other piece. As long as there is a human ego that believes in separation, and I don't know about you, but mine slips into there about every 10 minutes. In and out, in and out. As long as we have human ego that believes in separations and believes that the way to achieve something is to have power over other people, then we are going to raise up wars and fights and disagreements in our culture. We can't help but do that because it's already implanted in consciousness. And until we heal all of that consciousness, we're going to have it. We're going to disagree. We're going to have the great divide, they're calling it now. Do you know that we in CSL had a big piece in creating the current situation? Think about it. What's been the theme for Sitters for Spiritual Living for the last 15 years? A world that works for everyone. Well, the only way to have a world that works for everyone is to bring everyone to the table. And that's what we've done. How much CSL had to do with that, I don't know. I think we have some very powerful people who have been treating for that one idea now for a long time. And in order for the world to work for everyone, everyone's got to be able to speak what works for them and bring it to the table. And that's what's happened. And so here we are. Here we stand on air above this so-called divide, or maybe right within this divide, reaching out with love across all those places to all of the oneness. We the people means everyone. So that's the truth that I think needs to be spoken and spoken over again and over and over again. We're going to continue to raise up wars and fights and problems as long as we internally continue to slide into that belief in separation and the belief in there's a power greater than me and I got to get it from you. Not that there's a power greater than we are and we can all use it. It's all there. Another idea. If you're going to change anything, if you ever run a race, any runners in here? You know, the start, you get ready, get set, go. You do it in that order. I recently, on my trips during this last year, ran a kind of race where I did ready, instead of ready, set, go, I did go, ready, set. Not good, not smart. I went to the Northwest in the middle of winter to go camping up on the beach. And I was given a wonderful van to use for free for the whole time, and I could travel and I could camp, and I went. I go. And I bought everything I needed along the way. I got my porta potty to put it in there, and I got my cooking equipment. I got an extension cord, and I got a heater because there wasn't any heater in it, and I got all that stuff. And then I get to the beach. It rained. That's what it does in the Northwest in the wintertime. Every day, every night, day after day in the van. Needless to say, about halfway through, after about a week and a half, it was getting close to Thanksgiving, and I'm like, this is no fun. I couldn't even get out walking on the beach because it didn't stop raining enough, and it was too cold. So finally, I said, okay, I'm close to Camp Cedar Ridge, which CSL owns. I'm really good friends with the director there. So I called her and said, can I come over? I'm freezing. It's cold on the beach. And she's like, sure, come on. So I traded working there for about 2 weeks for a place to stay and a warm bed and heat and being out of the rain. And it was wonderful. I had a great time. So ready, set, go means you got to do it the other way around. Don't do what I did. Do what I'm saying do. So ready, in this case, in order to dance over the abyss, is to get yourself ready. How do you get yourself ready? You got to do the work inside. You got to start with that idea there is only one. Even though we look like a multitude, and even though it may look like there's division all over the world, there's only one. And if I can keep that in mind, then I can get back to my work about the oneness within me. I don't know about you, but I got divided parts in me that I kind of hate sometimes. My slowness, my procrastination, my response to cold. I used to not bother me. It does now. You know, and as long as I've got that going on in me where I'm hating part of myself or I'm wanting to shut off part of myself, I'm divided. So I do my work to bring the oneness into me, to awaken. It's always there, but to awaken to it and to allow it to be the dominating factor in my life. I do that inner work to forgive those that I think have done harm to me. You know who you are? You're an expression of the divine. Nobody can hurt you. It might seem like it. They might have hurt your ego. It might even have hurt you physically. They might have messed up a relationship. They might have done all kinds of things. But ultimately, on the big picture things, they cannot hurt you. You cannot be harmed unless you volunteer to be harmed. That's hard sometimes. Do that work inside so that you don't carry that anger and grief and guilt around any longer, so that you can live in that place of oneness. That's the get ready. Now, the get set is kind of interesting because, for a runner, I was watching a little video on this the other day. They get ready and everything gets really still. And they get set, it gets really still and quiet. And I have never exactly been a runner. I've done a little bit of that, but not a lot. But I know that in getting that get set, everything goes quiet. When I get ready to come up here and talk, everything goes quiet just before I start. I let it all go quiet because that's when the divine can speak That's when the divine can begin to empower and bring things in. Get set. And you wait, and you wait. And then the gun goes off, and you take off. That's how we have to do this spiritual life. We do our inner work, then we get really quiet and wait. And then somewhere along the way, as a result of our treatments, as a result of our prayers, as a result of our own choices and intentions, something in you says, go now. And you go. If you go sooner than that, it won't work as well. If you wait too long after that, it doesn't work as well. If you stay there on the set point too long, you'll fall over. You gotta be ready when the moment calls. See, that's one of the things about treatment I don't think we teach often enough. And that is that there is another whole step behind the treatment after you say, and so it is. And that is when you get that go moment and says, time to go do something. Time to go speak to someone. Time to reach out and be available. Time to say my truth. Time to stand up and say no. You know, no is a loving response. Or it can be. If someone is coming at you with something that is feels hurtful or harmful and not within your reality, no is good. Boundaries are good. But not a no that says no and I'm going to destroy you. Just a no. That's not my world. I don't play that way. One of my favorite phrases nowadays is, let's talk about something else. Because there's no point in diving into some of the places if people are dug in on their differences. Let's talk about something else and find our commonalities. And then maybe later we'll come back to our differences. Or you'll discover that you got more in common than you have different. You know, whatever that place is, wherever that place is to go at that point. So, you know, that's another great truth. You know, another great truth, every spiritual mind treatment or prayer that you've ever done in faith is still working and operative in this amazing divine universe that we're in. Every one you've ever done, every one that any practitioner or prayerful person has ever done from a place of faith and positivity is still at work within spiritual law. See, I think we did this. I think we created our current situation, and I think it's absolutely perfect. Because now we can talk to each other. Now we really understand better who we are and where we are. Prayers are still working. They're still working. I prayed for peace for a long time before I ever knew anything about science of mind. That prayer is still working. And peace is not about not war. Peace is about what's happening in my consciousness and yours to start with. See, this idea there's only one power, that hasn't gone away just because we're having a different experience in America right now. It didn't stop. Spiritual law didn't cease to be. Spiritual truth didn't stop coming. For those who feel like we've lost something. For many people, this is the moment where it's finally coming true and coming forth. Finally, we're being set free. So wherever you are in all that, what matters is that you come back to the truth that you are an expression of the one. The one is still there. Spiritual law is still working. Prayers are still working. Life is still going forth and going forward. And it is rich and it is powerful. And it is, what are the threes? Three omnis, right? It's omnipresent, meaning it's everywhere. It's right here, right now. It is me, speaking as me. It is you. Listening is you. Thinking, while you're thinking and hearing all this and wondering if Bob's gone off the deep end or Bob's doing really well or whatever your thoughts are, I don't care. It's about the divine is moving through you in some way that matters. Because there's only one. There's only one energy, one power. And it's omnipresent. It's omniscient, meaning it's all powerful. You don't need to go get power from anywhere because you've already got it all. And we've done a lot in the last 5, 10, 6 years about power and about who's got it and who doesn't. And culturally, it's a different story. But in terms of truth, in terms of simple truth, we all have all we can ever use of power. We just have to choose to use it. Omnipresence, omnipotent or omnipowerful, and omniscient, all-knowing. There is available to us in our everyday moment the knowledge of the universe, if we are open to it, if we don't let ourselves get shut down. Now, I told someone before today that I was going to talk about this, and I will real quick. There is something going on in our world now that will be our next big pandemic. It's already our next big pandemic, I think. And that is the pandemic of AI and the pandemic of social media and internet. Now, I'm not saying that those are evil things. What I'm saying is there are a lot of us, and I'm one of them, a lot of humans who have a tendency toward addiction. Anybody ever heard of that? And that addiction to those mechanisms is something that is sweeping the world in huge and negative ways. Because what it does, if you are addicted to it and you keep watching this stuff over and over and over, you've heard of doom scrolling, where you get on your YouTube or your whatever and you doom scroll for hours sometimes. I know people who do it for 14 and 15 hours a day. You know what that does? It causes your brain to shift the way it operates. It has an effect on your brain so that you can't be receptive outside of a certain range. It shuts you off. It closes you in. I lost the ability to read for a while because I was doing too much doom scrolling while I was sitting in that van trying to stay warm and not go out in the rain. Couldn't read, couldn't concentrate. Thought I was getting old. That's because I was old and I couldn't concentrate anymore, and I'd lost my ability to read. Oh my God. All it was my brain could not function that way with that much thought, that much direct thought. I had to have something brand new every so many seconds. Boom, boom, boom. That's happening all over our planet. But you know, the good news is I'm in a 12-step program now where we do it online. Yes, we're recovering from the internet by being online on Zoom calls. It's kind of like OA, people with overeating, issues, having meetings at restaurants, which they do because you got to keep eating. You got to keep using the internet. It's not going away. So we're learning how to do that. But what is so amazing to me is last night I was on a meeting. There were about 30 of us there. There was a person from Israel. There was a person from an Arab country. There was a person from Germany who was being very helpful to the Jewish person from Israel. There was a person there from the Southeast Asia. There was a person there from Hong Kong. There were several of us from the United States, but we were the minority. There were people from all over the world on that call. And you know what we were talking about? Prayer. We were talking about a higher power and how to turn lives over to the higher power and get beyond the duality thinking of everyday life. Yeah. That was pretty freaking amazing. And it's going on. That's the hope. That's one of those places where this two-ness just collapses. We had one person from Jordan that's was being bombed at the time he was on the call. Not his neighborhood, but his internet kept coming and going because the electricity was coming and going. And at the same time, he's talking in a supportive way to a person from Israel. See, once we get out of what the political stuff is trying to do, human beings are finding ways to be together and connect, and it's bigger and broader and greater than anything we've imagined. So stay open, folks. Read people who do complex thinking and give you a chance to think complex about some of this instead of just the easy sound bites. Okay, I've got to wrap up. I have about 10 more points here, but I'll save them for another time. But what I do want to say at the end here is, we are at a time where we are standing on air, where we are dancing over the abyss. And this is what I know, and this is my favorite quote. When you come to the end of the light that you have known, my faith tells me, or when I come to the end of the light that I have known, my faith tells me if I step forward into the dark, my foot will either find solid ground or I will fly. And so it is. Thank you. Do we have the song?
If there's knowing, I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing, and I don't know why. I've gotta keep growing, can't just sit here and cry. I'll find solid ground, or I will learn how to fly. Standing at the edge of the life I know, afraid to step forward, can't see what's below. But I've come so far to the top of this hill. Don't wanna go backward, and I refuse to stand still. Faith is knowing, I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing, and I don't know why. I've gotta keep growing, can't just sit here and cry. I'll find solid ground, or I will learn how to fly. I thought life was a lesson, like being in school, and I would be safe if I just played by the rules. But in the blink of an eye, the whole world can change. Ooh. Till nothing's familiar, no sure thing remains. Faith is knowing, gotta keep going when life isn't flowing, and I don't know why. I've gotta keep growing, can't just sit here and cry. I'll find solid ground, or I will learn how to fly. Oh, I'm aiming high now, heading straight for the goal. Trusting that somehow my wings will unfold. Faith is knowing, I've gotta keep going when life isn't flowing, and I don't know why. Faith is knowing, gotta keep going, life isn't flowing, and I don't know why. I've gotta keep going, can't just sit here and cry. I'm taking a leap, and I will learn how to fly. I'm taking a leap, and I will learn how to fly. I'm taking a leap.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bob. What an awesome talk this morning. And he picked that song to go after his talk. So tune into that. The message was good. Dr. Bob's message was awesome. Walking on air, step out. So now for our affirmation of prosperity. If you'll say that with me, and then I'll talk about it a little bit more. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely and joyfully give, I join in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me, multiplied abundantly. So it is. And for those of you online, you can scan the QR code or go to cslmidtown.org/donate. If you're in the room, there's a basket in the back of the room to give donations to, or you can do either one. If you haven't set up an ongoing donation, you can do that online at the cslmidtown.org/donate. And Barbara covered this really well in her part, where we appreciate you all, us here in the room. And yes. We've been sustaining for a year. We've had amazing speakers. We're continuing to have amazing speakers. We've got speakers planned, like you said. Judy and Maya have done a wonderful job. Speakers just keep coming. We get awesome speakers. Next week, we are online with Reverend Dr. Harry Morgan Moses. And at 10 o'clock, if you want, there's a online study group. They're studying the science of mind. So hop on the Zoom link. You can get to that going to cslmidtown.org and scroll to the bottom. There's a Zoom link. And let's do our affirmation of life. I leave this place now knowing something better than I knew before. I go forth into the world with a heart full of love and a mind full of good sense. I look at the world in a greater way, knowing that I have within me everything I need to create the life I desire. I give thanks for this understanding, and I am grateful for the spirit of life that lives through me. So it is. And I'm going to see if I can switch it to get us on Zoom. Bob wanted to do a little talk. We'll get the tables rearranged. Well, you wanted to chat. If you just want to chat with them, we'll switch it, and you can do that and just say hi. I'll jump back there with you guys on Zoom.
I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for all that I have.
There is a power for good in the universe greater than you are, and you can use it.